and now it's the camp for the soldiers. For the viewers, you may be as same as curious as me, so let's have a closer look at it. The soldiers have stayed here for more than 3 months, and they have lived in tents. There are rocks on the field, and it's quite hard for us to walk on that. And on the great pieces of the rocks, it is written some local, the symbols of local culture is the culture of the stones, and many words have been scribbled on the stones. In our previous reports, we have learned that a lot of heavy rains have covered this region, and in the tents, in order to get yourself out of the rain, you need to curve some tunnels in order to get the evacuation of the rainfalls. And here there's also a coverage in order to shield ourselves out of the sunshine. And you may be also curious why we make the tents like that and what are the special functions of the stones. And I have invited the captain, Mr. Tian. Good morning to you all. The deployment of this site is adapted to the local geographic conditions. First, it should protect us from the sunshine, and also it can help us to hide ourselves. Today, the weather is quite good. And here we think that we are at the third extreme point of the Earth. And every day you can go through the 4 seasons. Currently, the weather is quite good. For our viewers, you may think that it's interesting to live under a tent. However, to be in a tent for 3 months is no easy job. And you can see that a lot of rocks are arranged in order on the field. Could you please explain this? Actually, it's helped to build up a habit of the soldiers to follow the order. So it's important to follow this order also in daily life. And in the bigger pieces of rocks, there are some words. And it's a culture of stone, right? It's for each section of the troop, they have their own spirit. So the spirit has been written down on the stone. And also the firefighting equipments. It's quite necessary because here the humidity is quite low in the air, and also a lot of sandstorms. So it's quite necessary to have this kind of firefighting equipment. And we have seen that the tents are losing the colors. From the upper side and the lower side, the color is quite different. Yes, it's also due to the changes with the temperature. And the camping site is surrounded by the mountains and is by the river bank. So there are few people here, right? Yes, and a great change with the temperature at morning time and at noon. So during the night time, you need to have very heavy quails, and at noon it can feel very hot here. In general, the conditions are very difficult. However, the soldiers feel happy to work here. And Mr. Captain, could we walk around and visit the inside of the tent and see what the soldiers are doing now? Good morning, I'm from CCTV News. Say hello to the viewers, please. I've never imagined that this tent can hold so many soldiers inside. Now it's the rest time, it's the weekend. And I can see that there's little space between the beds. So a lot of people are living here inside this tent. Several days ago, we have made a report on the construction of the tents for the trios. And at that moment, I was already quite curious about the life inside the tent. And today, I have a closer distance to the soldiers in the tent. A lot of quails inside the tents. Could anyone explain to me why you need so many quails? Are those quails for other people? No, it's for ourselves. Because temperature changes a lot during the day, so we need for each one 2 quails during the night time. Yes, it's hard for us to imagine. Currently, we have more than 20 degrees in the daytime, and in the evening, you may need 2 quails per person. And let's see what they have. This is the coat. So coat is also needed even in summertime. In morning, it's very cold. At noon, when the temperature goes up, you have to take off the coat. I heard that you have stayed here for 3 months. So is it hard for you to live here? Not at all. The soldiers look very young. I'm 22 years old. And he said it's not hard at all for him to live here. We admire your efforts. And also the bottles for the hot water. So let's visit outside. Thank you for your introduction. And now we have heard the signals. And our drills are about to begin. The soldiers are ready to get together. So let's follow them. I didn't know that drills can start any second. So let's follow them to have a look. Dear viewers, the drills are about to start in any second. Now the captain are given the orders. Today, we're going to do the drills of the construction of the bridge. Turn to the right and move. Dear viewers, in front of us, the soldiers are getting together for the drills. And later, they are moving towards the riverbank to start the drills on the construction of the bridge. Here, the altitude is 3,600 meters. So after short rounds and with the rocks on the ground, I feel look to the right. Look ahead at both. Stand still. Captain, everyone's here. We have 156 soldiers in total here. We are ready to take your orders.
开进，命令！上去，同志们，今上级任务要求。
Comrades, according to the demand of the upper side, today, on the 24th of June 2018, we are about to do the drills of the construction of a bridge over the Yarlung Zangbo River. We should be quick, precise, and stable in our construction. Could you do that? Yes. Now we are going to separate into groups. First group. Dear viewers, the soldiers are moving towards the riverbank, so we are going to take our vehicle and to view the whole process of this military drill about the construction of a bridge. Captain, how much time it will take to the riverbank? It will only take us 2 to 3 minutes to arrive there. However, we still need to do other preparation works. Just now we have talked a little bit with the soldiers inside the tent. However, when there's the signal, a lot of soldiers are getting out of the tents immediately. Yes, this is a subject of training. We need the soldiers to be prepared every time. They need to get ready to move outside of their tent at any moment. For example, today they didn't know at what time the drills will start, at what time the get-together will start, so immediately they can get out of the tent. And today they are wearing the rescue clothing. It's necessary for the drills. So in a few minutes, we're about to go into the field of drills. And on the car, we can see that there are other equipment for the life-saving. For example, here we have a lifebuoy. This car is also usable on the land and in the water. When it enters into the water in emergency, we can use the life ring, the lifebuoy. To viewers, you must be as excited as I am, because today we are about to set up to construct a pontoon over the Yarlung Zangbo River, and later this pathway can even hold the vehicles to pass by. And now we can see that the vehicles holding the soldiers have prepared themselves, and we are ready to move towards the riverbank. We have different types of the vehicles. Could you please explain to us? These are the vehicles adapted to the construction of the heavy load pontoon. When we are working in the river, we need these special cars to help us to span the river, go through the river. We need special cars. Yes, I've heard a lot of specific terms. Later, when the pontoon spreads over the river, you can give us more details about that. And very soon we're about to arrive by the riverside, and the road is bumpy. every day the soldiers will pass through the same routine. And the routine will be repeated several times during the day, and for each day, it's also an exercise for their body. And I think that I've heard that it's quite easy to set up the pontoon and it will not take that long time. However, to take it back, to disassemble it, it will take more time. Here we have a lot of sandstorms. Each day we will suffer from several rounds of sandstorms. We do not have a closed space, so it's a big challenge to our construction work. To viewers, outside the window, we can see that another group of comrades, they are standing on the other side of the river bank. You can feel that the road is quite bumpy. Very bad road conditions. We're about to arrive on the riverbank, and we can see a lot of rocks and pebbles on the field. And here in this area, we have a very open vision. Later, this field will be covered by the trucks and vehicles. On the river bank, a lot of sands with the storms. I can feel the sand on my face. Now let's go over there to have a look. And the vehicles have arrived one after another, and later the sections of the pontoon would be laid down into the river and they can be connected to form the whole pontoon. I'd like to deliver the camera and the microphone to other colleagues. Good morning. My name is Li Xiaodong. My name is Liu Pengfei. We are from CCTV News, and now it will be our turn to give you the report. And currently, the soldiers, the members of the construction team, they have arrived in the fields and they are making the road. And let's go closer to hear the orders of the captain. We can see that the soldiers, for each one of them, they have different functions, and they move towards their own position to accomplish their own task. In general, they have run into two different opposite directions, and some will be hidden. And some others will be continuing with the preparation work in order to make this pontoon construction securitized. And you can see that some soldiers, they are wearing the camouflage clothes, and the color of this camouflage is so close to the colors of the fields and of the mountains, and later they will just disappear in the mountain. And you can see that more than 30 vehicles are running towards us, and later the vehicles are about to carry out the work of the construction. And today the weather is not bad here in Tibet, because we have a lot of strong winds and also the waves, the heavy waves in the river. Some soldiers will move to the other side of the riverbank to do the preparation work. The 3 soldiers are moving towards the opposite bank of the Yarlung Zangbo River, and 2 other boats are in the river. They are patrolling to see if there are other big rocks in the river. So let's turn back to the fleet of the vehicles. Later on, the dozens of vehicles will make a raid on the riverbank, and they will be ready to set up the construction of the pontoon. We can see that on the vehicles we have different types of equipments for the construction, and by the different forms of connections, later it will help to build up different sections, and when we align the sections together, it will be the whole pontoon over the river. The soldiers, they are very quick in actions to move the equipments. Those are the sections. They are getting those sections, getting those equipments into the river. Now, let's give the floor to Mr. Tian, our captain, to give us more explanations. Mr. Tian, we can see that they are putting those equipments down to the river. Do you have any instructions for that? It's a very important part of the process. To get the equipment to the water is the first step to guarantee the smooth process of construction. We need to get all the sections into the water at the same time. And you can see that there are 3 parts of it. The 3 parts will make a boat. This is the source of the energy. Later, we will use the ropes and other connection equipment to set the 3 parts together. Over there, we have the bridge as the motoring bridge, and also the bridge sections of other functions. So let's move over there. According to the instructions of our captain, the sections are connecting different parts. The 3 parts that we have seen just now can form a boat. Then the boat can get together to form the total pontoon. As we can see now, the motoring boats are in its assembly process, and towards its left-hand side, there is a cabin for the pilot. This is the left end, and we are connecting the left end to the middle part, and later there will be a right-hand part. When we put the 3 parts together, it's the whole boat. And we can see that for the vehicles, in front of each vehicle, there's a soldier holding a rope. What's the function of that rope? For this preliminary section of the construction, we need to hold the rope in order to stabilize the boat. Later, when the boat moves into the water, we can use the motor itself in the boat to keep the boat stabilized. But currently, because it's still not in mid of the river, we need to use the rope to stabilize the boat. And each boat accounts for dozens of tons. And we can see that sometimes there will be two soldiers holding the rope. So is it due to the different load, to the different weight of the boat? Actually, it's not quite related to the load of the boat, but it's under the consideration of the geographic conditions. If at that point the geographic condition is not good and it's harder for us to stabilize the boat, then we need more people to hold the rope. Currently, we have accomplished the investigation work, and now for the connections between the parts and between the boats. We can see that currently this boat has been accomplished and they are moving towards the middle side of the river. And the motoring boat is composed of 3 parts as we have mentioned. And this is the motoring bridge, and it will be the source of energy for the whole pontoon. So as we can see for this motoring boat, there are 3 composing parts. The right end part is the cabin with the pilots. And it can move towards different directions, 360 degrees. You can move towards the front, and you can move back, and you can also move in a vertical, in a horizontal way. And the pilot is responsible for the direction of the boat, and before this work, the pilot must have followed a long period of training. And here we can see another boat composed of 3 parts is in this process of assembling. And this boat itself is without motor. Later, we need to connect it with the motoring boat, and with the connections and with the hydraulic pressure, it can be moved. And later, when we need to change the position of the boat, how can we adjust the position of the boat? We have 2 motoring boats to change the total position and the direction of this pontoon. It's like when we are driving a vehicle. So where are those 2 motoring boats? Could you please show to us? One is already in the middle of the river. We have talked about that. And another is still being assembled. And we can see that several other boats with the number 8, number 14, number 7, number 15, they are the middle part. The soldiers are doing the work on the boats, and they need to connect the different sections, different boats together. We will use the hard connections and the soft connections. And we can see that for the motoring boats, they are higher on the water surface. So how can we connect those higher boats with the other sections of the boats? We will use the steel and other connections. Currently, we can see that the soldiers are running on the surfaces of the boats, and they are trying to connect the different boats together in a very precise way. We have to accomplish a hard connection. It should be very precise. If you cannot accomplish in a precise way, then the connection will fail. And you also need to be very efficient. Currently, what is the width of the surface? It's about 200 meters. And it will vary according to the flood seasons and the dry seasons. Now let's get a closer look at it. How can we close the gap between the two parts? Soldiers will make efforts on both sides, and they are also using the steel equipments. And for the structures of the boats, we have made special arrangements. We will push and pull. Actually, it's not necessary for the soldiers to get down the boats and get into water. However, they want to be more precise, and they are very resistant to the difficult conditions, and they are not afraid of that. Now it's the summertime. We have tested the temperature of the water is quite cold. However, the soldiers, they are so brave that they can directly go into the water and try to set the connections in a more efficient way. Yes, the land is quite comfortable with the temperature. However, when you go into the water, you can directly feel the cold. And it's also a big challenge to the soldiers themselves. Our dear viewers, Xiaodong and I will later get on the surface of the boat. Just now we have seen that the soldiers have accomplished the connections with the 5 boats, and later we will show you a closer look to the pontoon. Dear viewers, as you can see, we're about to take this speedboat to get into the river, and later we are going to put on the life vest for our own security. Captain Tian, in front of us, what part is it? According to the depth of the river, we are using this section to do the first step, so it's a part to be connected with the bank of the river. So it can be considered as an anchoring boat. So what kind of measures could we take to make sure that these sections can be accomplished? First, you need to investigate on the river bank. And you also need to get full knowledge about your equipment and also the depth of the water in the river. in order to have a stabilization in a very short period of time. So we need to sit down for our security. Now they are moving some equipment. It's the dock. And we have to set up a board in order to connect this anchoring boat with the riverbank. And now we can see that half of the river has been covered by the boats, but it's not yet, because we are at a special angle of view. We have not yet accomplished half of our work. This is the part already set up on the river. This is a gate bridge. Later there will be a bigger structure of the gate bridge. So we are looking forward to that. That would be enormous to see how we can change a natural moat into a new pathway. Captain Tian, in daily life, apart from these drills of the quick construction of the pontoon, what are the other functions of your troop here in Tibet? We are a special force of emergency. For example, when there's heavy floods, we are in the front line, and we are getting ourselves ready even in normal days. And now, as you can see, that we are on a speedboat. The speedboat is also an emergency equipment. In our daily exercise, we are training with these boats and other equipments. So when there's an emergency, we can be very quick in response. Now we have reached the end of the anchoring boat. So we can get on the pontoon. We are on one block of the bridge, one section of that. As you can see, the soldiers, they are moving very fast in their actions. What are they doing now? After the precise connections of the two parts, and later, in order to stabilize the passing by of the personnel and the vehicles, they are improving the connections in order to make the perfection perfect. And through our camera, the viewers can see that the soldiers are very young. Yes, they are very young. They have just joined the army for 1 or 2 years. They are moving very quickly. However, they are very experienced, and you can even tell the traces of the time on their skin. Because here, a lot of sunshine in Tibet, each year the soldiers can have their skin burned by the sunlight here.
那我们可以通过镜头近距离的。
We have a signal problem. Dear viewers, we've had a problem with the signal because we are inside the river. So there must be some turbulences with the signals. And we are about to continue with our report to you all.
我们看到，在水面上这种冲锋舟的操纵还是需要一定技巧的。刚才我就是不小心用力把这个冲锋舟给我们拉远了。好，那我们还是为了
You need to be very technical in order to manage these speedboats. 好的，我们现在。现在正在向上方，也就是水流的上游方向机动，进入桥头线。那以目前的我们的进度来讲，是完成了多少的进度呢？架桥？应该说完成了2/3以上的进度，目前。好，那我们就继续期待我们完成整个一个架桥的一个通关。那我们可以看到，除了我们在江上紧张忙碌的这个官兵之外，我们周围的环境，包括我们的天气，包括我们的水面的情况，这种景观还是非常好的。这目前是在我们江中的一个角度调整，就是一个相当于。 Now it's amid the river.
我们这组单元是要往江对岸，是要跟对岸进行连接吗？
And for this section, will be connected to the opposite side of the riverbank.
就是说，我们架桥通常是完成岸两边的一个架设，再进行一个中间的一个。
So first, we will accomplish the both terminals connecting the riverbanks, and later we will connect those two terminals. So first both ends of the pontoon and then the middle part. This is just one style of constructing.
And
dear viewers, we are taking the speedboat to have a closer look at the constructing of the pontoon. As you can see that the soldiers are processing in order, and later you can see the accomplishment of this pontoon over the Yarlung Zangbo River. For each unit of the boat, each unit of the bridge is enormous. And 5 blocks are moving towards the site of constructing. And Captain, we can see that there's one special part of this boat and this leaning. What is its function? It's to prepare enough space for the later connection of the other parts. Because later the docking will be accomplished in a vertical way, so this part should be at a upper position so that we can have enough space on the lower side. Actually, for each unit, the structure is the same, but for the form, it can be verified according to our need in the constructing. When we are applying different methods of constructing, these forms of connections can be changed. And this construction work is a big challenge to the soldiers themselves, because it's very consuming in their energy, and also it's quite challenging for their expertise. And every day they are doing this exercise, right? And today it's a big surprise for the soldiers because they did not know that there would be a drills for the construction on the weekend. And from time to time, we will demand them to carry out the construction drills, the construction exercise in an unfamiliar place so that they can be adapted to different conditions and even in difficult conditions. And now in Tibet, in this position, in this section of the river, the geographic conditions are also a big challenge for the soldiers, right? Yes, and also the temperature changes a lot in the daytime. It will be a big challenge for the application of the equipments, because when the temperature changes, the equipments, the connection parts can also suffer from some changes. So what is the time limit for the construction? It depends. You should first investigate the depth of the water and also the width of the river. Now we have got to the other side of the river, and because the signal is not good, so from time to time you cannot reach to us.
刚才的回答网友没有听清楚，再给大家来解释一遍好吗？
好的，至于我们这个整个作业时间这一块，应该说没有。
And we are asking the captain to repeat to us the time limit. It depends. We cannot fix the time limit for each mission. You should always look at the actual width and depth of the river. As I can understand, it should be as quick as possible, but each time for the mission, the conditions change, so you cannot be following the same or one unified time limit for each task. Could you please give us an approximate time limit? So during the whole process, when there is no stop, it will be an ideal situation. In our recent trainings and in different conditions, sometimes you will use 40 minutes and in some other cases 1 hour. So it depends heavily on the weather condition, the river condition. And each time we try our best to accomplish the mission in the shortest period of time. The soldiers, what are they doing now? They are also docking the two parts. It's the connection from the upper side to the lower side. And some viewers are asking us, how can we respect the security protection rules? I've asked the question to the captain. Actually, before this report, we have discussed a lot with the leaders of the group. So, a lot of details have been arranged before the opening of this report. And we make this report in order to show you how can this troop, a modernized troop, can accomplish such a difficult task of construction. I apologize for my voice, my bad voice, because I feel quite uncomfortable after short run from the other side of the river to this point. And the captain himself has been quite used to these conditions, because here the conditions are very difficult. We have rare oxygen, and usually how much time will it take for a soldier, a newly coming to the region to be adapted to the region? Usually it will take you 3 to 5 days or even a week to be adapted to the local conditions, and later you will be more resistant to the difficult conditions. This task looks easy, however, if you move a lot in this environment, lack of oxygen, it will be very hard for you to breathe. And all those equipments are very heavy. So it's no easy job for the soldiers to move around those heavy objects. And they are trying to get a balance in body. And they are also shouting the slogans. And one group is throwing a rope to the other group, So it's for the stabilizing of the boats. Actually, it's for the docking. It's for the connection of the parts. As we have introduced before, we have two motoring boats. The motoring boats are the sources of the energy, and we need to connect the motoring boats with the other parts. So now we can have a bigger picture of this pontoon, and currently we have basically accomplished the docking and connections of the boats to form the pontoon. And now it's a very essential step, right? Yes. Yes, it's for the stabilization of the structure. We have two different structures. Here is a distributed structure, and over there a different structure. So as we can understand it, we first start from both riverbanks and we move towards the middle part, and we have used these hydraulic poles in order to set a level ground on the surface of the pontoon. We are also used manpower to do the docking work. The two installations, there's no gap. And for the other parts, we can see the gap is bigger, so we need another board to set the connection. Just now, it's between the two units. The gap is needed so that when this section is moving up or down, there will be enough space. And later we will set another board to accomplish the connection. Because when you need to facilitate the transportation over the surface, you have to keep a complete surface of the pontoon. And to use this metal board is the easiest way, right? Yes. It's a kind of hard connection. And the gap is quite limited, so this board should be inserted in a very precise way. In our daily work, we have to accomplish the maintenance work, otherwise it cannot be matched one with each other. And for this section of the pontoon, it's higher than the parts directly connected with the riverbank, right? Yes, I have mentioned the two structures. And we have the jumping board. We will use the jumping board to connect two different levels of the surface. Let's have a look at it. And under this part of the pontoon, there are the supporting force, which is our motoring boat. And for that part, the motoring boat is retreating? No. Actually, the motoring boat is just the source of the energy. We have different styles of structures and the different connections. We start with the two sections directly connected with the riverbank, and then we move towards the middle part. The both motoring boats are at the different riverbanks. They are playing the role of stabilizer. Because when the river goes from the upstream to the downstream, there will be the flush of the river water, and we need a stabilizer. And that energy comes from the motoring boat.
它是要进行一个把这个具体这个装置是跳板。
Now we are asking the other people to leave the work section, to leave the work field for the security reasons.
它是为了使我们这两部分那个车辆行驶更加顺畅的一个装置，是吗？
So this is an installation to facilitate the transportation of the vehicles. For the docking of the gate bridge and the other parts, we need this installation. So as we can understand, for the constructing and for the connection, the soldiers should be very strong in their body because the work is quite consuming in energy. And now the captain is asking us to leave this area to stand outside the yellow line. And dear viewers, you can have a closer look at the work of the soldiers, how they can put the connections together. And this is a work very demanding for your physical power and for your intelligence. And the soldiers have to practice a lot in their daily exercise and in their daily trainings so that in real mission they can be very efficient. And you can see that on the water surface there are other speedboats. What are the functions of these speedboats? In our daily training, we should learn to accomplish the missions with the emergency. Those soldiers are carrying out the trainings on the water surface so that one day, in a case of emergency dealing, they can know what to do with the speedboats. Each year during a special period of time, we have to carry out this kind of training with the speedboat.
它现在是在进行一个往下面这个浮桥进行一个承载，是吧？
它主要是进行一个升降。
Are we loading the pontoon? We are docking this part with the gate bridge.
这算是我们架桥的基本上是最后的尾声环节了吧？
So this must be the very last steps of the construction. After the construction, we need to make some adjustments. And also, we have to run the test on the transportation capacity to see whether it is reliable, whether we can make those vehicles pass by this pontoon. So by the end of the construction, will the motoring boats continue to supply with the energy? At the end of the construction, it depends on the flow of the water. If the flow is very strong and is very powerful, then we need to continue to use the energy coming out from the motoring boat, because as we have mentioned before, the motoring boat is also playing the role of the stabilizer. So when the flow is very strong in the river, we need to continue with the motoring boat even after the end of the construction process. And dear viewers, now for the report, we are showing to you the drills, military drills of the construction of one pontoon crossing the Yarlung Zangbo River. Until now, we have almost accomplished the constructing of the pontoon, and currently we are going into a section of adjustment of the bridge, and later we are going to run a test to see whether this pontoon is reliable and whether we can make the vehicles and the personnel pass by. The soldiers are running towards the other side of the boat. What are they doing? Because they have accomplished their missions on their post, they need to get to the other end of the river to hide themselves. Because the camouflage is also an important capacity for the soldiers. And here we are mimicking the war scenario after the construction of the boat, the floating boat. In the wartime, normally the soldiers should directly leave the field and hide themselves. And here we can see there's a slope. So will the slope continue to stay there, or? The captain is directing the adjustment work on the bridge. And dear viewers, you can see that on this Yarlung Zangbo River, here the width is 200 meters, and now we have a very consolidated pontoon. According to the instructions of the captain, now we are about to run the test. we should go through each part of the boat to see whether everything's in place, is in order.
我们可以看到我们的这个动力舟在加大马力，对我们的这个桥梁进行
And
微
we
调。
can
我们可以
see
通
that
过画面看到我们的
our
这
motoring
个
boat
桥梁
is
是有一
driving
些
up
微微的一些角度
its
的转动。
output
目前还是
in order to change a little bit to readjust the directions of the pontoon.
稳定应该实现了。接下来我们还
And currently, we have basically accomplished the goal of stabilization of the
刚才我
pontoon.
注意到您用旗
And
语
now
在
we
整
are
个桥
going
梁
to
的中央位置
verify the
进行我们
different
的一个指挥。
details of the
那我们看到
pontoon. You have used the flags in different colors to guide this process of adjustment. And on the other side,
对这个整个浮桥一个
we can see two other captains are also using the flags. So you are using the language of the flags to pass the message one to another.
操作手做出反应。
Yes,
就是说我们在
we
上
will
采取这个
use the flags to make different movements to spread the message to the other soldiers
好的。
so that they can be very quick and responsive in actions.
现在
Now we are waiting for the accomplishment of the test. Yes, the person in charge for the gate bridge and for the other sections of the pontoon, they are doing their job now. Move forward. And we are walking towards the opposite side of the river. And later we will be running a test on the pontoon to see whether each parts, the separate parts, are in good position.
这个答案位置的时候，我们应该说是在看时间板。那么在架好以后，我们同时也根据跳板这个答案的一个情况。
Before the constructing, we have made the investigation, and later after the construction, we should make sure that each part is in place, is in the correct position, so that the whole pontoon is in good function and we can let the vehicles go through this pathway. We can see that heavy load trucks are over there, so later we will need to drive the trucks over the pontoon. We first will use light load vehicles. Now we can see that according to the captain, in the eyes of the captain, the heavy load trucks are actually the light load vehicles. However, for each one of them, they can still account for several tons. Usually this investigation will be accomplished by the person in charge for the gate bridge and also the captain. So it should be like a check and acceptance procedure after the construction of the pontoon. After the construction of the pontoon, we will run a very heavy vehicle on the pontoon to see whether it is in good quality and every separate part is in good position. Now we will leave the captain in peace so that he can go through every detail of the boat to see whether the boats are well docked and the whole pontoon is in good function. It's also the first time for us to visit such a pontoon constructed by an engineering ship. It's very stable here. When we are standing on the surface of the pontoon, we can almost feel nothing, even though there is a big river running through and running beneath this pontoon. As introduced by the captain, we will adopt different measures, different styles of constructing of the pontoon according to the real situation of the river and of the weather of the day. And he's going through every detail in a very careful method. And we are looking forward to a very successful construction of this pontoon. Just now you have seized the bigger picture of the pontoon. Very quickly, the soldiers have accomplished this huge pontoon over the Yarlung Zangbo River. It's enormous. And we have been deeply impressed because you cannot imagine that on a river, on a big river like that, you can use such a short period of time to accomplish a big construction over it. This capacity of quick construction of pontoon over a big river is very important for our troops. Today is weekend, it's Sunday, and the soldiers have not been warned of this military drill before. So we can see that the soldiers actually they are fully prepared at any moment. Now we are toward the end of the checks for the bridge structure. And by the end section, the soldiers are still doing something. What are they doing now? It's the same purpose. In order to elevate the surface of this terminal, you can use the machine to do that, or you can make it in a manual way. And in daily practices, we will train the soldiers in both ways. Does it mean that there is a problem with the hydraulic system? When they, in a case, there's a problem with the hydraulic system, then the soldiers can know how to accomplish the function in a manual way. So here it's an exercise with a special purpose. It's a big challenge for the soldiers to accomplish this construction. We cannot be relying on the equipment 100%. We should also be equipped with the knowledge to deal with some emergencies. For example, when one part of the machine is not working, you should know how to accomplish this process in a manual way. And currently, when the flow changes, or when the temperature changes, the level of the surface will change. At this moment, you should have an adjustment down by the machine or down in the manual way. You should know how to deal with this kind of changes in place. Otherwise, this work could not be accomplished in the time limit. And the soldiers should also know how to accomplish an urgent repair and how to do the daily maintenance. As we can see that when there's a problem with the hydraulic system, the soldiers, they are continuing with the work in the manual way, and they are separated into groups, and we are doing this relay group after another. In the manual way, it's also very quick. Actually, we have to take the turns. We have to do the work in relay because here we have a limited oxygen. It's hard for us to breathe. We need to do the work group after another so that they will not be exhausted. After the manual work, so the board is in position. Even though there's a small bug here, however, it's fixed by our soldiers. And here, in a place with high altitude and also with the frequent sandstorms and the frequent changes in the temperature, our soldiers have overcome the difficulties. Currently, we have accomplished the checks, and later we will run the vehicles across the bridge. Maybe we can get on one of the vehicles to have a try. This must be a very special experience to go across the Yarlung Zangbo River. Currently, the construction has been accomplished, and later we will run the vehicles across the bridge. We are about to get on one of the vehicles to have a special experience of the river crossing. We are walking on a stable and consolidated pontoon across the Yarlung Zangbo River, and we are at a high altitude of 3,600 meters, and it feels good. We are waiting for the vehicles to get on the bridge. I can see that the bridge is very stable even though there's a heavy load truck on it. Now we are getting into the car, into the truck. We are on board, and Captain, is it safe for us to run through the pontoon? Yes, absolutely. There are some ups and downs here due to the different levels. In our daily trainings, the pilots, the drivers, they are trained to be adapted to the different levels because in real time, in real practices, what is the maximum speed of the vehicles? It also depends on the real load, the real weight of the trucks. So for this pontoon, only one truck, only one car can pass at a time. You cannot have the two directions. Yes, currently only one direction is allowed and is possible. I can still feel that the pontoon is in very stable status. We have the hard connection and the soft connection. For the part of the soft connection, because we have some ups and downs, the elevating and the going down of the boards, we're about to arrive at the opposite river bank of the river. And my colleague has taken the following truck. Let's get out of the vehicle now. You can see that the cars are running smoothly across the river. You can see my colleague Xiaodong in the car. What is your feeling? So it's stable, right? Yes, we have tried two different types of cars. And when moving towards this side, we've heard that they have a speed limit. It's 20 kilometers per hour in order to make the bridge stay in the stable status. And now, you see, this is a heavy load truck. But still, the pontoon is not trembling. It's in a very stable status. And you have seen that there is a slope. We have set the slope in order to give a very stable status for the truck and for the pontoon. So at the same time, we can guarantee the efficiency of the bridge crossing and also the stability of the pontoon itself. And we can see that this is a very smooth construction and a smooth test. What is your opinion, Captain? Yes, it's going very well. And here at an altitude, a very high altitude, at a plateau, we are training the soldiers to construct this pontoon so that we can always have a pathway across the Yarlung Zangbo River, and the soldiers, they can manage the work. And it's also important for us to stay vigilant and stay capable during the war times and during the peaceful times. And today we have witnessed together how our engineering troop has set up the pontoon over the Yarlung Zangbo River. The whole process is very smooth, and you can see that on the opposite side of the river, the other journalist, our colleague, this lady, is coming to join us. We have spent 1 hour and 40 minutes witness together to give you the report. And it's a very efficient process of the bridge construction. And by this report, you can see that the soldiers in Tibet are fully dedicated to the work, and they are showing us a spirit of hard work. We have stayed here for 3 days to give you the immediate report, on-time report, and we are also giving you the report about the military drills of the soldiers in order to set up the pontoon over the Yarlung Zangbo River. Even though the conditions are very bad, are very challenging, the soldiers, they are very tough. And in the past days, we have also shown you how the soldiers can climb the steep faces of the mountains, and we can feel that the soldiers, they are very competent to do the work, to accomplish their mission. And in current situation, the courage of the soldiers in Tibet can be shared among all of us and be learned by all of us. And in the future, we are going to give you more information on the soldiers in Tibet. And thank you for following.